Hi, this is Robert with Cruzbike, and today we're going to be joined by Katie, our warehouse manager, and we're going to go over a complete packing, including the disassembly of this Q45. I highly suggest watching this movie all the way from beginning to end before doing anything. That way you'll be well prepared and be able to get all of the items needed together before you begin. All right, without further ado, let's get started.
Hi, I'm Katie. I manage the warehouse here at Cruzbike. If you're watching this video, you are planning on repacking and returning your bike to us as part of the 100-mile trial. Thank you for having given us a try, and we're happy to take your bike back. This video is going to give you every piece of information you need to know about repacking and returning your bike and getting your full refund, which is what we want for you. Careful disassembly and repacking of your bike allows us to continue the 100-mile trial for other customers just like you. The bikes that are returned to us are resold in the clearance section. We ask that you keep that in mind and follow our directions closely. Repack the bike in a manner in which you would be happy to receive the bike if you were its next owner. Let's get started. Step 1 is to gather your materials. We ask that you only use professional packing materials. This may mean that you need to go out to Home Depot or Lowe's or Target and pick them up, but believe me, a little bit of money spent up front allows us to give you your full refund. Let's take a look at what materials we are comfortable with you using. So what do we mean by professional packing materials? Well, first of all, you're going to need some heavy-duty shipping tape. Clear tape like this. Oh, my favorite, bubble wrap. Bubble wrap is your friend. Paper. This is called craft paper or shipping paper. Sometimes comes in brown, sometimes comes in white. Again, all of these materials can be found at a U-Haul packing store, at your local home goods store, at Walmart. You can order them off Amazon. Pieces of foam are also an excellent thing to protect the bike when it's being shipped back to us. Lastly, heavy-duty, clean cardboard. It can have some printing on it, but please make sure you've removed any labels that have your shipping address or your name on them. We don't need your personal information going out to another customer. No packing peanuts. If you use packing peanuts, you're going to hear from me personally. If you don't use professional packing materials, that means we have to repack it. And that's going to mean at least a $500 deduction off the refund that you get. We want you to get your full money. So what are the materials we don't want to see when we open your box? We love the clear packing tape. I don't want to see blue tape. That's painter's tape. Ooh, black electrical tape. Don't like that. And normal Scotch tape is just too weak. I don't want to see your kitchen recycling, so nothing that is a food box or anything else goes in there. Don't laugh at what I'm showing you. Every single thing is something we've received before. And remember, I personally am going to be unpacking these bikes if they need to be repacked. No old towels. Certainly nothing smelly. No rags, no old clothes. Please take them to Goodwill. I don't want them. Boxes. Again, they should not have tape on them. Too much printing. Ugh, anything dirty. Remember, again, you're basically packing this bike up for another customer, another cyclist. And this is a strong community. We want to do this kindly. Step 2, prepare your box. Ideally, you're using the original box that your Cruzbike came in. If you're not, we need you to reach out to us so we can guide you on obtaining a replacement box that has the proper dimensions. This is a box that was returned to us, so let's take a look at it. These boxes endure some pretty rough handling on their way to you and back to us. So there may be holes, there may be sagging. Most of this can be fixed. If you have any doubts, please reach out to us support@cruzbike.com, and we can tell you if we think your box is in good enough shape. But let's open this up and see how to rehab a box. So inside here, because the ends were a little squishy, I've cut down a large box we had. It's got a nice bend to it. That's going to protect the lower corner. And I just slide that in. You want to do this before you've got the bike in the box. You can tape it to the sides if you need to. The cardboard doesn't have to be perfect. You can see this has some perforations in it, but it's clean, and that's what's most important. For holes on the outside of the box, like this one, you're going to place cardboard behind it, and then you're going to tape over it multiple times with heavy-duty shipping tape. Don't forget about the bottom of the box. It honestly takes the most damage. Flip your box over. Make sure that the tape is still intact. Make sure that you don't have any holes that you need to patch over. If you feel like there are any weaknesses, this is the time to address it. Okay, so on this side, we have another hole. I place cardboard inside the box, behind it. And then again, I'm going to be taping multiple times to cover it up. There's no such thing as too much packing tape. All right, what's going on here? All right, this is common. We've got a somewhat busted handling area. So again, this is a place where you can use tape to really reinforce any of these splits. Here's a split here. I'm going to go along the split and into the box. If you feel like the damage is too great in that area to maintain the handle, it's okay for the handle to go away in the sense that you can put cardboard behind it and fully tape over it. Did you forget to save your original Cruzbike box? It's not the end of the world. But we do ask that you reach out to us, support@cruzbike.com, so we can give you guidelines and dimensional requirements for obtaining a new box.
Okay, this is Robert here, and we're going to be moving into the disassembly portion of the video. We're going to be disassembling this Q45. I want to talk really quickly about it's as important as what you disassemble as what you don't disassemble. And we'll go through that as we go along in the video. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we want to remove the chain. The easiest way to do that is with our little handy chain tool and the quick release. If you don't have a chain tool, you can always borrow one from a bike shop or use a very thin pliers. Chain tool is the easiest way. These are very inexpensive on Amazon. You can find them. What we're going to do is find our quick link on the chain. And once we have found our quick link, we are simply going to use our tool to squeeze that link together, which will cause it to come open as it is slotted. So once we have found our quick link right here, we will simply use our tool, and once we squeeze that link together, the chain will come off. Now once you have disconnected your chain, you're going to want to make sure that you find and save the quick link, both pieces, and you're going to want to put that in a separate small bag along with the chain and save it for packing in a small parts box later. So once we have had our quick link and we set it aside, then we can simply remove the chain from the cassette and from the derailleur and put it in a bag. If you have small rubber gloves, I recommend wearing those just to keep your hands clean. Otherwise, you'll probably want to wash your hands after this step so you don't get grease on anything else, but it is a good idea to get the chain off first, and then it's not a problem or a worry to have dirty chain everywhere. Okay, the next thing we're going to do that we have the chain removed is we're going to remove the pedals. Now in your toolkit you have a 15mm wrench and also a Allen key. A 6mm Allen is usually what's on the pedals. Sometimes it's a 15mm slotted wrench that you're going to want to use. In this case we will use the wrench. Now if your pedals were installed at a shop, this wrench might be a little small, so you might need some leverage in order to get it off. These ones are not super tight, so we'll simply use our wrench to remove the pedals, and then we'll set those aside in order to put these with the small parts box a little later in the disassembly. Okay, so now that our pedals are off, we're going to remove our handlebars next. We're going to use our 4mm Allen to remove the bolts that hold the handlebar clamps in place. We're going to stash our bolts and handlebar clamps in a small sealable bag that we will use to collect all of our small parts, and then we will simply set our handlebars down on the seat. If you have your housings held onto the slider with any zip ties, now would be the time to clip those off, and you can simply throw those zip ties away. Okay, our next step in getting the front end removed from the bike is to talk about the things we're not going to take off. So in order to have a successful return, please do not undo any of the cables from the derailleur or the brakes. There's no need to undo those. There's no need to remove the cranks or any parts from the boom. The only thing we need to do to remove the whole entire front end is remove the derailleur and the hanger from the chainstay, which we will do in a moment. Other than that, we're only going to be removing individual parts from here on out. But there's no need to undo cables, move housing anywhere, or undo things like that, or clip cables from the brakes or the derailleur. And as you can see through the video, we're going to make sure we keep those things intact. So using our two 5mm Allens, we're going to remove the pivot clamp bolt. We're going to make sure we retain all three washers. Sometimes one of the washers will be kind of stuck inside the pivot clamp. Then we're going to simply thread this back together. Again, it should have all three washers attached to the slider bolt. We want to make sure that none of these washers get lost, otherwise they make it very difficult for the next assembly. So once we have those, we're going to put those in our small parts bag, just like we did with our handlebar clamps. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is using our 5mm Allen, we're going to loosen our boom clamp. And once we have that boom clamp loosened, we will be able to slide the slider right off the boom. And while we're doing that, we're going to move the pivot clamp off of the slider tube. And once we get down close to the end of the tube, we're going to remove the boom clamp, which is going to go in our parts bag. And the pivot clamp is going to come off, and it's capturing the cable housing here. So we're just going to set that aside over by the handlebar. Now we have our clean slider completely free from the bike. And then we will set that aside for later packing. I'm going to take our boom clamp, put it in our parts bag. Okay, now I'm going to move to the boom, where we're going to use our 4mm Allen to undo our boom clamps, our chainstay clamps here that attach the boom to the chainstay. We're going to loosen all 4 of these bolts and remove the clamps. And once we have those clamps off, we will put those clamps in our small parts bag, and then we will be able to free the boom, which includes the cranks and the chain rings, from the chainstay. Now, you should note that the bolts in the clamps are captured with some small O-rings. We're going to leave those intact, leave the bolts attached to the clamps, put those in the small parts bag. Then we can simply lift the boom away from the chainstay. And we can set this aside for future packing. Okay, the last piece of the front end we need to remove is the chainstay. So here we have our little through axle tool, which is the tool that fits in the end of the through axle. It's also a 6mm Allen on the end. We're going to use that tool to undo our front quick release skewer. And we're going to simply unthread this quick release skewer, making sure it doesn't swing down and hit the floor. And once we have that completely unthreaded from the front of the bike, remove the axle and then simply remove the chainstay. But now what we're going to do is we're going to use our 2.5mm Allen to undo the small bolt that holds the derailleur on. Once we have that off, we can fully remove the chainstay. Okay, let's move on to the middle of the bike and take the seat off. We're going to take the handlebars and set them down on the floor. We have not removed or cut or changed any of the cable housings. Now we're going to simply undo the back of the seat from the seat bracket, and then we will undo the 2 lower seat quick releases. And once we have those completely loose, we will simply lift the seat free of the frame. Now in this case, we're going to leave the quick releases in the frame. There's no need to completely remove them if you're just returning the bike or sending it somewhere. So we'll simply remove the seat pad, and we have the seat frame, which we will simply fold a little flat so it lays nice and clean on the floor. And we'll set that aside. And once we have the seat completely clear of the frame, we will undo the quick release and remove the rear seat tube from the frame, and then also reclose that quick release lever so it stays in place. Okay, moving further towards the rear of the bike, the last thing we're going to have to take off is the rear wheel. So we're going to simply undo our rear through axle with our same 6mm tool that stows away in the through axle. We will put our tool back into the rear through axle and set that aside to go in the parts bin later. And then we will lift the frame and remove the rear wheel from it, and we will set it aside. And then we will very carefully lift the entire frame, including the handlebar, off of the front wheel, and we will set it aside. Now we're going to lay everything out. What you see in this image is exactly what should be removed from your Q45 for packing for return. This is the only disassembly that you need to do. All the cables are intact on the main frame and attached to the handlebars. The seat is still assembled, just removed from the bike. We have not cut any cables from the derailleur or the front or rear calipers. The kickstand is still attached. We have our wheels. Our seat is still there, assembled. The pad, the seat tube and bracket still attached. And we have our pedals, our through axles, our chain and chain stay, and also our boom and our slider. So I definitely suggest taking a pause and taking a good look at this image. We have our small parts bag and pedals over here, but this is the extent of the disassembly that your return bike should have. If for some reason we had to unpack your return Q45 and set it out on the floor, this is exactly what it should look like once we remove it from the box.
Okay, once you've done your complete disassembly, you want to use a nice, clean, damp rag to wipe off all the parts, including the stays, including the seat, the frame, the boom and the slider. Also, you want to clean off your rims. If you've been doing trail riding and have dirt packed into the tires, please use a hose and clean off the tires. Just make sure that they're completely dry before doing any packing into a box.
Katie again. I'm not your mother. Don't make me clean your bike. All right, let's wrap this sucker up. You're going to start with the frame here because that's the biggest part we're going to fit into the box, and it will go in first. The frame is very sturdy, but we want to protect the paint job, and we also want to protect the delicate parts that are still attached to it. Basically, the brake housings and the derailleur. So I'm going to start by wrapping those up. We'll use bubble wrap. I do recommend taking a bunch of tape cuts. So the first thing we're going to wrap is the derailleur. I'm going to use bubble wrap, and you don't have to be too precise, but get a big enough piece that you can get that sucker all circled. And you tape it, and that's shut. Now, the derailleur has some sharp parts on it. We don't want to scratch the paint job, so we're also going to take some packing paper, because we're not using newspaper, we're not using anything that is not professional packing materials. And we're going to wrap that up with paper on top of it. And I'm going to tape that shut. Once we have the entire frame wrapped, I'm going to tape this to the front so that it is tight against the fork. Okay, we've got our derailleur wrapped, and it's time to take care of the brake calipers. They need special attention too. Again, just take a nice small piece of bubble wrap, and we're going to get all around that. Boop, boop. Take a piece of tape. The tape should never touch the paint on the frame. That's very important. This is strong tape, strong shipping tape, which is what we've asked you to use. And that can go on paper, it can go on the wrapping materials, but that strong tape should never go on the frame because it can harm the paint job. All right, I'm also going to get the rear one here. And you don't have to be too precious about it. You just want to make sure that it is as protected as possible. Okay. If you still have some of the original foam that came in the bike box, you can use some of those pieces around the frame. Again, you're going to want to tape it around the frame and do not let the tape attach to the frame itself. If you don't, which is fine too, bubble wrap is your friend. So we're now going to wrap the entire frame with bubble wrap. All right, we've got the frame all protected with bubble wrap and some paper around the derailleur. I have taped the derailleur nice and close to the fork up here, and now we're going to handle the handlebars. So just like we do any other thing, we're looking at the delicate parts. Here it's the shifter, and we're going to give that a little bit of extra love with some bubble wrap. We're not looking for precision, we're looking for protection. that's all good. Now the rest of the handle, we're just gonna get some packing paper here. I'm gonna have it on an angle. And I'm just gonna kind of wrap it around. Okay, so we've got paper around the handlebar here. A key to fitting everything in the box, because it may look to you like it won't, but it will. It'll go, is to make sure that we've left space on either side of the frame for the wheels. And the first thing we're going to do is add some foam on either side to protect the dropouts. So I've got 2 pieces of foam here that are about the width of the box. And I'm just going to put those at the end. When I lower the frame in, it'll touch those. All right. Okay, let's lift the frame into the box. Now I've got the handlebars, which are wrapped in paper, just sort of resting on top right now. We're going to do some adjusting with them once we've got the frame settled and put the other items in the box. But for now, I'm lifting this up carefully and I'm lowering into the box. It may feel at this point like the frame is sticking a little. If you just gently give it a press, oh, it drops down and gets the right angle. Lovely. Now these handlebars, if we leave them in the middle, it's going to be hard to get the wheels in. So we want to make space for everything else, and then we can sort of wiggle these around. So for now, I'm going to put these up front and just kind of get them out of my way there. We may leave them there, we may not. But right now they're out of the way and we've got maximum space here to put our other big parts. Let's move on to the wheels. The most delicate thing we're going to protect here is obviously the cassette and the rotors on either side. You may have saved, and we love you if you did it, the plastic hub protectors. In that case, you can put them on and those will help out. If you don't have them, don't worry. I'm going to show you how you protect all this with paper. Because while I am the queen of bubble wrap's a little bit too gentle and easily pierced by the sharp edges on the cassette. So this is where we're going to take paper. You're going to put it over. I have a double layered wrapping paper here. And now I'm just going to work and I'm tucking it under all the edges. Now I'm kind of folding it up and still tucking under the edges. Squeezing it down, tucking under edges. And we're going to use a rubber band to secure it. So let me first make sure, is that kind of holding? It's kind of holding. And now I can use a rubber band to sort of circle around. Come on, come on. Grab paper here. Perfect. There. Does it look perfect? No. Does it do the job? Hell yeah. Okay, you've wrapped up your cassette and rotors on the wheels. Time to drop these suckers in the box. Go ahead and pre-cut a few different sizes, rectangular shapes of cardboard, not too thick, thin cardboard, and we're going to have those at the ready to protect the frame as needed. The first wheel we're going to put in is the one with the cassette on it. That is the largest part that extends out from one of the wheels, and we want to have that facing towards the interior of the box. So I'm going to drop this in. And you're finding a way to drop it in where it doesn't rub against the frame. Now, I'm going to take some cardboard and wiggle that in between, just to extra protect if anything shifts during travel and extra protect the frame. Let's get the second one in. We're going to have the rotor towards the inside. Here I need to lift the frame a bit. That's okay. Get it so the wheels sing nicely on the bottom. All right. I'm going to actually drop in another piece of, slip in another piece of cardboard there, protecting the frame. And now I'm going to take cardboard and I'm going to put it, I'm actually going to double this up and put it to protect this wheel hub down here from poking through the box. And I can do that again on this side, even though we have extra cardboard there to cover up holes. And there we go. We've got either side of the wheels are protected, protecting the frame from scratches and also protecting the hubs from poking through the box. Okay, time for more fun with bubble wrap. We're going to be wrapping the chainstay, the boom with the chain ring, the slider, and the seat tube. For all of those, you will mostly be using bubble wrap, so get yourself several big pieces. We are going to use paper again to wrap around and protect the chain ring. And cut yourself lots of pieces of tape. Let's go. We're making great progress. We're down to just the seat, the cushion, and getting the small parts box together. This is a little bit on the big side. You need a box that can fit everything. Please do not put your items in a kitchen food box or anything like that. I guarantee all of you have some small cardboard box sitting around. It's okay if it says Amazon on it. But again, you're going to want to remove any shipping labels if you're using a small box from Amazon or one that's been sent to you. And this is also not too expensive to buy from a moving or packing store. So in that, we're going to make sure and put our chain. We've got the bag, we're going to make sure is tightly sealed because it's got tiny screws in it that have some of our clamps and a lot of different bolts. Chainstay clamps, that goes in there as well. The pedals go in there. Robert, can you hand me some paper? Because I'm actually going to, yay! What a great assistant I have. I will say that if you have an assistant for repacking, it does make everything a little bit easier. And again, I'm not going to be precious with this. I'm just going to wrap them up to get them generally protected. Boom, they go in the box. And I'm going to use a bag for the 2 axles. Make sure that you have the through axle tool in there so that's not lost. There we go, that. Seal everything tightly. All right, that's my small parts box. And I'm going to tape that shut and set it to the side. Oh, look what I forgot. Your toolkit. The toolkit should also go in the small parts box. So I'm going to open this up, add the toolkit, and get that sucker retaped and put off to the side. The last thing we're going to deal with is the seat back and pan. It's plastic. It doesn't need to be wrapped too preciously, but what we're really going to do is take care of this sharp hardware on the back because that is a big danger for scratching the bike and affecting other parts. To prepare for this, I've cut a bunch of tape. I've also just cut 2 small pieces of cardboard. You know, that's like 6 inches by 8 inches or whatever. And I have also prepared 2 big strips of bubble wrap. I'm going to put my bubble wrap strips underneath. And then I'm going to use my cardboard to basically make a protective cover of that. Then you can use your bubble wrap to hold it down nice and tight. Nice and tight. There we are. And we take that. I'm going to actually tape some corners too, just to make sure it stays on. All right, so no tape is touching the seat or any actual parts of the bike. That bubble wrap is nice and tight and holding the cardboard on there. We are going to do similarly up on the seat back. I've got that over top. Just pull it nice and tight. And tape. Now I'm going to see that slide. I'm just going to tighten it down by getting one of the angles here, and that just holds it even better. All right, shake, shake, shake. That's not going anywhere. Let's get everything remaining into the box with the wheels and the bike frame. Okay, we're racing towards the finish line. You've got everything wrapped. You've got your wheels and your frame are already in the box. There's a little bit more prepping, which is I want you to have some cut cardboard because you're going to want to just be able to sort of freestyle this as you put things in to make sure that you've got cardboard to protect in between pieces. This is also your opportunity, your last opportunity really, to go through and make sure you've got all your parts. In fact, while shooting this video, we turned around and realized we had left one of the parts of the toolkit out. This is a chance to kind of do that, do a scan of the room where you've been doing the repacking and make sure you've got everything. And now it's time to go. All right, let's get these parts in the box. I'm going to start with the boom and the crank because that has particular weight to it. And I want to get in the box so that weight is at the bottom of the box. So I've got this, everything's nice and protected. And there is, if you look, there is space underneath the frame, kind of a cavity, and that's where I'm going to drop this into. So I'm going to push the frame to the side lightly, and I'm going to kind of wiggle this down, and there. And it drops right in there nicely. This is where I'm going to get some cardboard, and I'm going to just put that in between to make sure we don't have anything scratching the frame. Okay, excellent. All right, we're going to do, well, the slider just goes nicely here. Boop. We've got the seat tube. Boop. I have to tell you, this is actually bigger than our standard small parts box. So if this can fit, the one you received with the bike definitely can. Obviously, it'll be easier to pack the smaller the box you use. So whatever you can fit everything in. But I'm going to stick this right in the middle here, in between the wheels. There we go, nice angle. That's not moving around. I've got the chainstay all wrapped up, and that'll just kind of fit beautifully in there. The plastic chair, the seat and the pan, we wrapped it while it was flat. I'm gonna bend it so it's an L shape because that then fits beautifully this way. And all the sharp hardware, while we've protected it, is now facing away from any parts of the bike. Very last thing is the seat cushion. I'm going to slide that in. Obviously it can bend a little at the end because it does for your butt on the bike. And we got it all in there. Best game of Tetris ever. We're going to take this opportunity for one last look around to make sure we don't see any sharp parts that are requiring us to put more cardboard. Everything's protected, everything's well wrapped. Looks like we're good. I'm going to do the very final step, which is just stuffing paper into the top, because the fuller the box, the less likely it is to collapse. Please do not use newspaper, do not use gift wrapping paper, do not use the pages of your novel that you've never published. Please just use professional packing materials. So, this is the fun part. This is just crumpling up paper and shoving it in. Oh, this feels good. Ta-da! We've got everything done right, and it's time to close it. You can see here when I just shut the flaps, because the box has been shipped and beat up, if I just were to tape it like this, we've got almost 2 inches of gap there. And it's important to shut the box both to not have shipping overcharges, but also because the box has integrity when it is wrapped the tightest. So you can see here, I'm gonna get my tape gun, but I can just, with my thigh against one part of the box, I'm just pulling that, and that 2 inches goes away. And I tape it. Start by taping across the box several times. You're wanting to get this width as narrow as possible. Once that's done, it's time to focus on the edges. Tape along all open seams and really work on the ends. I like to use a sort of gift wrapping method where I put tape across, fold it in on the sides, and then tape down. You may need to reinforce that edge that you folded over. Again, we'll never be upset with you for using too much tape. There's no such thing. All right, let's get this seam. And you're going to tape along. Again, just really press so that the tape adheres. Once you've got the entire edge taped and the ends taped, you're going to want to go across the box several times. Don't be afraid to put your body into it. Okay, we're at the finish line. You've disassembled your bike. It's clean, it's well packed with professional shipping materials. You've taken photos of the inside and out, and you've taped it with heavy-duty shipping tape. Thank you for your attention and care. Now it's time to email me. Email support@cruzbike.com and tell us that you're ready to ship back your bike. That's the point at which we will generate your shipping label that will get emailed to you. Thanks again for giving Cruzbike a try. We wish you well on your future riding adventures.